Hey everybody! I hope that you guys had a safe and happy New Year. We celebrated New Year's, just our little family, me, Jason, and Penelope, and then almost immediately went into celebrating Penny's first birthday. I cannot believe that she is already a year old. That is crazy. We couldn't have the first birthday that I originally envisioned for her, but I still wanted to do something special for her. I ended up making a cake, a little smash cake for her, so that she could eat it on a little web chat birthday party, so that friends and family could pop in and watch her eat her cake. For today's video, I am going to show you guys how I made said cake. And actually, this cake was such a headache to make. I wanted to do something that was low sugar because so far, Penny hasn't really had very much sugar. Maybe like a muffin here or there. But I didn't want to give her this big sugar bomb of a cake for her first birthday. So in comes this carrot fruit cake kind of thing. I found this recipe. I'll leave a link to it down below. In the end, it didn't work out for me, but who knows, maybe I did something wrong. If you guys have made this cake, or if you make it and it turns out way better, then please let me know what you did, what I did wrong. And yeah, that'd be great because I was really looking forward for her to try this cake. So anyway, here we go. Here are all of the ingredients. First things first, you'll notice that I have a bunch of shredded carrots, but the recipe that I used calls for parsnips. I didn't have parsnips, I had carrots, and I figured that that was a decent enough substitution, and carrots would also sweeten up the cake a little bit. So basically, I made this into a carrot cake. I mixed the carrots, applesauce, banana, yogurt, coconut oil, orange zest, and vanilla extract together. In another bowl, I whisked the flour, cardamom, and the salt. Totally forgetting about the baking powder. The freaking baking powder. The only leavener, I think, in this cake. I mix my dry ingredients, minus the baking powder, into the wet ingredients. I dumped the mix into a 9-inch cake pan lined with parchment paper on the bottom and baked it in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes. And, well, as you would guess, with cake with no leavener, it was still underbaked in the center after 30 minutes and it did not rise at all. I left it in to bake longer and longer and longer, but nothing seemed to get it to bake more thoroughly. And then I realized that I forgot to add the baking powder. And then at that point I knew that this wasn't going to be anything but a rubbery disc of carrots and blackberries. So on to attempt number 2. Thankfully, I had more carrots and blackberries on hand, so I just whipped all the ingredients back together. Same steps, but this time actually including the baking powder. And then I baked it up, and this time it rose. A little, anyway. It still wasn't completely baked after 30 minutes, so I left it in for probably about 40 to 50 minutes, and that's when I finally pulled it. After everything, I feel like it probably needed a little bit longer, but that's when I pulled it. So after it was baked and cooled, I used this ring mold to cut some small circles out of the cake. And, well, this cake was not much better than the first go that I had at it. It was super dense and looked really underbaked. I was really annoyed to lose out on all of these ingredients, but I really didn't want to feed her this dense cake. I feel like it would have just ended up on the floor anyway. So, third time's a charm, right? This time I went with a completely different cake, a low sugar angel food cake. Again, I'll leave the recipe for this down below. I beat the egg whites, cream of tartar, and vanilla, and then I folded in the flour and sugar mixture, and then I poured this into an ungreased springform pan and baked in a 325-degree oven for 20 minutes. When that was done, I took it out, flipped it over, and let it cool upside down on a cooling rack. For the icing, I decided to kind of riff on the original recipe's icing that I was going to do. It uses coconut cream, so in order to get coconut cream, I stuck some coconut milk cans into the fridge way in the back where it's like the coldest and let it sit overnight. So the next day, I flipped the cans over, opened the bottoms, and then poured the liquid out. The contents of the can should have separated like so. There should be clearish liquid that you're able to pour out, and then the coconut cream at the now bottom that you can scoop out with a spoon. And make sure to save the liquid because you can use that to make smoothies or whatever. I wanted to get coconut cream from both of these cans, but as you can see, this second can didn't separate properly. I ended up putting it back into the fridge and letting it sit another 24 hours. It never fully separated, so I don't know why one worked and one didn't, but thankfully the amount of coconut cream that I got from one can was enough since I was just making a tiny little cake anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I added 1 ounce of softened cream cheese for flavor, and then I added quite a bit of blueberry puree. For that, I just cooked some frozen blueberries with a splash of water sprinkled with some cornstarch on the stove until it started to get thickened, and then I used a stick blender to blend it all up. Honestly, at this point, I was pretty stressed out about the cakes not working out, and I was just trying to get stuff done, so I didn't really measure what I was doing. I was like, it's probably not going to work anyway, but of course this is the one thing that worked out perfectly, of course. Once cooled, I added this to the coconut cream to add sweetness and color. Also, in the recipe it says to whisk this in a bowl that was chilled in the freezer to try to help thicken it, so I did, but I didn't really notice a change, really. Whatever, it was really thick already, so I probably could have skipped this step. When the cake was cooled, I ran my offset spatula around the edge, removed the springform pan side, and then I used the spatula to remove the bottom of the pan from the cake. I cut this in half, and then I cut 2 circles with the ring mold. I ended up saving these offcuts, and I tore them into smaller pieces and put them away. I figured I could just use them as snacks for her later. So now to build the cake. I did this on a piece of parchment paper so I could easily transfer this onto Penny's high chair table later. I put 1 layer down, spread a good dollop of icing, and then I put the second layer on top, and again, spread another good dollop of icing on, this time spreading it over and onto the sides. Initially I had intended for this to be just the crumb coat, the thin layer that you do first to trap all of the crumbs, and then I was going to go in and do the final coat of icing as you do traditionally with a cake. But I ended up actually liking just having the crumb coat, so I skipped out on that and just had the crumb coat. I did, however, do some decorative piping. First I cut the parchment paper down so that there would only be enough for the decorative piping to sit on. At first I tried using this piping tip that kept getting clogged because of the blueberries in the icing, so I had to switch with something else. And there we go. This one worked much better. And finally, I topped it with 6 raspberries that I tore in half to make them less of a choking hazard for Penny, even though she still just grabbed each one like it was a whole raspberry and shoved it in her mouth anyway. But it made me feel better, so. And here's how it turned out. It's so cute. I love it so much. But before Penny got to dig into this cake, I had to decorate for her. For the theme, I wanted to do something space related. For my baby shower, we did a space themed baby shower. It was like I love you to the moon and back, stuff like that. So I decided to go with a space theme for her first birthday to kind of make it like a full circle moment, kind of. So I did Penelope makes her first trip around the sun. I thought that was pretty cute. I got a balloon garland kit thing and I blew up a bunch of the balloons. Thankfully, I had a pump already because this would really suck if I had to blow them up. And then I arranged them like so. I just love this little planet balloon so much. Then I arranged this behind Penny's high chair along with a cardboard sun that I had painted yellow to go directly behind her. And I finished it off with a little happy birthday bunting that I made. And then her birthday preparations were complete. I'm sad that we weren't able to celebrate in person with family and friends, but I am glad that we got to do something for her. So here's how everything turned out. Here is a screenshot that one of the attendees took, so you can kind of see how the background looked and everything. And here is Penny enjoying her cake. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all of that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Bye!